Hi, Heather.
Hi, Krista.
Whale Song starts in a few days. I'm very excited.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I loaded a bunch of the content into Mighty Networks and sent out a bunch of emails today. And it's all looking really, really good. And we may or may not have spent several hyperfixation moments putting together playlists
Yeah.
for each of the
Yeah.
week's
I might have
themes.
gotten a little bit obsessed finding songs that fit with the
And I
themes of
might have gotten
each
a little
week.
obsessed putting them all into a
It seems like
into a
our,
playlist.
our obsessions met in a moment of like,
They did.
it's like,
It's true.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it though. Yeah, and well, I mean, it's one of the things I value about our relationship is that we have those moments, but we also have other moments where it's like well, we just had a moment where we're ranting about everything. Uh, but I know part of the intent behind whale song is for maturing women who are entering their perimenopause journey, women, people with uteruses, all those folks who are on this journey of aging, um, which in the recent past has more or less kind of been vilified for all of us. We have been sold a bill of goods that tells us that once we stop having being useful and being reproductive, that we are no longer of any use
Yeah.
anymore. And once our youthful beauty fades, that we have less value in society than we might have, which as you and I are both sort of at different phases of that particular narrative, is looking more and more like, to put it crassly, a pile of horseshit.
Yeah. Can say that.
Anyway, so we were talking a little bit about the importance of having these intergenerational relationships, especially among women, and how important they've been in the past and history when we were more matriarchal in our lineages than we have been, um, and how important they are even in the midst of trying to survive and outlast patriarchy and patriarchal
Yeah.
capitalism.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so riff for me a little bit about,
Yeah.
yeah, what you're thinking, because our first theme for the week for whale song is community, and I think
Yeah.
that's a big part of it, is sort of leaning into a community of women of all ages who are supportive of each other and are willing to collaborate, and how we've so long been pitted against each other, and how exhausting
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is, and how much nicer it is to, yeah, to be able to be together.
Yeah. Yeah, so much in there, and
I
I
know, sorry, that was a lot.
no, no. But
Here's all the
it is
things, now talk about it.
one of the great harms of the patriarchy is the damage it's done to um, relationships and especially female friendships
Yeah.
and male friendships too. It's not exclusionary to females, but there is a certain threat to the patriarchy of women spending too much time together because we
Mm-hmm.
realize, A, we can start sharing our rage and actually
Uh-huh.
communicate about, oh, this is my story, this is your story, oh, this is your experience, this is my experience. And that creates potential for disruption and revolution when you let people have conversations about meaningful stuff.
Yeah.
And also it patriarchy being built on a hierarchical structure of value, it needs
Mm-hmm.
us to be competing for value in that system. It needs us to be at odds with each other because we all are seeking the same thing from patriarchy. We're seeking some power and privilege and safety and comfort, and we want to be able to survive. Some of it's just our
Yeah.
survival. And so what it's resulted in is trying to artificially create competition between women. And the whole kind of archetype of the bitch, the women who are bitchy with each other in the workplace. I remember like when I spent more time in traditional workplaces, there was this sort of expectation that women would be bitchy towards each other
Right.
and be more competitive rather than it was never true. Like the
No.
women that I knew in those workplaces were actually supporting each other and showing up for each other and throwing baby showers for each other and doing that kind of community building much more so than the men tended to do in those workplaces. We were the ones that were weaving together the fabric of that of our workplaces and our communities. But there is a narrative out there, and you see it in Hollywood, and of the woman who's highly competitive and needing to put other women in their place in order to
Yeah.
rise above them. And yeah, it feels like we've been so lied to in so many ways. And even when it comes to like the beauty myth of needing to compete against other women for men's attention. And so we
Yeah.
need to force our bodies to look a certain way. So we will fit in well and we will get the attention, the whole male gaze thing too. And it's like,
Mhm.
that's all artificially built because most of the time, most of the women I know are not dressing for men. They're dressing
No.
for themselves and for women, and because they enjoy how they look and etc. And yet that's the lie that we've been told all this time. And so it feels really important that as we begin to, well, not begin, it's already been going on for a while, but in our whole dismantling of patriarchy, and we have a lot of forerunners who've been working on this for a long time. I
So
was just
many.
gathering material for a whale song. I was digging back into people like Audre Lorde and Bell Hooks and Gloria
Bell hooks.
Steinem and some of the, our foremothers in this work who've been saying this kind of stuff for a long time. And
Mhm.
and it, we need to prioritize our friendships, our relationships, our communities, our ways of gathering, our conversations. Those all are going to help us transform away from the patriarchy that's built this really artificial way of being together. And that's why we're creating stuff like whale songs. Like, let's gather, let's compare stories. And you and I, like you say, we're at opposite ends of the kind of menopause structure
Yeah.
or spectrum.
Spectrum.
And so, and I have women friends too, who are 20 years older than me, and then
Yeah.
20 years younger than me, etc., and all in between. And we, yeah, we learn from each other, we inspire each other, we challenge each other, and we grow together, and we share information, really important information. And this is a bit of an aside, but I remember when my daughter was going through some big health challenges, and I ended up finding a group of online of primarily women who'd gathered all these resources and information
Yeah.
for perfect strangers on the internet who were dealing with this particular health condition. And it was all the women who were giving their own time, volunteering to gather information to be of service to other people who had the same challenge. And
Hmm.
that's the kind of thing that we so need to bring more into our culture intentionally and highlight it so that we recognize what's possible that's not
Totally.
inside this patriarchal framework.
Absolutely. And I mean, I don't know. I have two sons and I think about this all the time. It's like, I see the ways women I know are growing and learning about themselves and leaning into community. And I look at my boys and I'm like, they're smart kids. Like there's no reason that they can't do that too. And that's kind of, I think, what people get wrong when they when they hear about matriarchy and things like that. They think it's just patriarchy but with women, and that's not really the case. Like
No.
matriarchy is focused on making sure that kids are safe and that the community is well looked after, and that includes men. Like we want this for men. We want men to have
Yeah.
good relationships with each other. We want them to be able to collaborate and
Yeah.
not feel like they're in constant competition all the time. We want them to be able to lean into their communities and not have to rely on their
Yeah.
mothers or their wives or their sisters for their emotional health, for their physical health, for their functioning. Like,
Yeah.
and we know that they're capable. And I think maybe that's where the frustration of women sometimes sits, is that we look at these guys and we're like, you could do this too, you know?
Yeah.
You're not an idiot. Like, you're a smart human. You're a smart person who has
Yeah.
empathy, who has feelings, who has a
Yeah.
brain. Like, this is not limited to women. What we're talking about is not limited to a particular gender. This is like, and this is part of the reason why you and I are so enthused about gender nonconforming and queer people, because they understand that in a way that I think those of us who have been so severely gendered in our upbringings have
Yeah.
trouble grasping.
Yeah. Yeah. And this whole, we're taking it in a slightly different
Yeah,
direction, but
sorry,
I
I
think
kind of went off the
no, no,
rails
no.
again, as I do.
I'm willing to go there with you, but this whole idea, and we've talked about this a bit before, about how we think that there needs to be a queering of the world, and using
Yes,
queerness as a verb, like, and I think that's a matriarchal idea where we are
me too.
disrupting some of our gendered expectations, disrupting what the patriarchy has taught us about relationships, because we are, and that's like, so much of our assumptions around relationships are so rooted in a patriarchal worldview. And so, even I remember when my first book, The Art of Holding Space, was coming out, and it was hard to find a placement for it at the bookstore, because we don't have placements for books that are about community, that are about
Yeah.
relationships that are not marriage relationships. If you go
Hmm.
into any bookstore, if there's a relationship heading, probably 99% of those books are on heterosexual
Heteronormative.
marriage
Hmm.
relationships. That's the assumption when we talk about
Yeah.
relationships. We're talking about a heterosexual relationships. And so where are all the books that teach us how to be in community, like you and I building a
Yeah.
partnership around meaningful work, for example? Like, we would be hard pressed to find a book that talks about the way that we have built a relationship. We've
Yes.
sometimes had people ask us to write that book because other people want to read it. But that's what we're talking about, is like, okay, disrupt that pattern of what
Yeah.
you expect a relationship to look like, and what else is possible. Like,
Exactly.
so much, like friendships, platonic relationships.
Hmm.
We see, for example, single moms deciding to enter into like an alternative for a marriage, a platonic relationship, so they can raise their children together. And it's like, there are endless possibilities when we actually disrupt our idea of what a relationship was look for. And I think some of that is rooted in the queer community, that is asking us to look at other possibilities,
Yeah.
and not be stuck in what we think is the way to do relationships.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Anyway, that was a bit of a sidetrack, but I guess, yeah. Um, I guess part of the reason why we're leaning so much into this particular somewhat gendered kind of thing with Whale Song is that we need to know what it looks like. We need to experience what that community looks like so that we can then translate it outside of this little group. And I think we do that with our Holding Space program. We do that with Grounded Guide. It's like, let's do this in a microcosm so that we can, to some extent, have proof of concept, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
look, we're proving we can do it. And we're
yeah,
proving that you can be in these relationships with people from all over the world, who are experiencing a similar stage of life as you, who are having similar thoughts to you, similar,
yeah,
experiences. We're proving that it works in a microcosm so that we can maybe replicate it out
yeah,
there,
yeah.
out there.
Well, it goes back to an idea that you and I have talked about in the past, and that is the idea of through-topia, which we've sort of
Yes. Yeah.
adopted for some of our work. It's this, and I
Yeah.
can't remember the founder of the term. It was a philosopher who came up with this
Right.
concept of through-topia. Through-topia are those stories that actually guide us to a possible future. A utopian story is the story that paints a beautiful picture of the future, but there's no guidelines to how to get there.
Right.
And whereas a dystopian story is a like all the horrors of the
Mm-hmm.
future that
Mm-hmm.
will happen if we continue down this path, or
Yeah.
whatever, the self-destructive path. Whereas a throughtopia is actually giving us guidance for how to get
That's
to
right.
that possible future. And so what we want to do in gathering people together is to give ourselves the possibility of dreaming of that kind of future. Like,
Yes.
how can we dream that into being if we gather with people that we don't know and around the world and we sit and have these meaningful
Yeah,
conversations? This is offering us what we intuitively know how to do, what our
absolutely.
foremothers were doing. Well, like
Mhm.
this is not new stuff that we're
No.
introducing. It's just been so squashed by the patriarchy. And I think I did a video earlier this week about how my mom used to gather in sewing circles and the women
Yeah.
would gather. It's like we've lost some of those really basic foundational kind of building blocks of how to build community relationships. And I grew up on
Hmm.
a farm in a small town, so there was much more of that present than when I moved into the city and was raising my
Yes.
kids. And I didn't even know how to build some of those relationships or find those community spaces because we had dissolved a lot of that in our evolution of
Sure.
humanity. And so what we're inviting people to do is like, how do we go back to that? And these are spaces where we're beginning to
Yeah.
imagine it as a possibility for being back in relational spaces.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you're speaking, I keep thinking of something we use all the time in all of our calls is asking for a pause. Like that's what we're doing. We're inviting a pause. Like all the stuff you're seeing online, the fact that you're having to watch this on your phone or wherever, like it's a lot of noise. And I
Yeah,
think something like whale song is just an inviting a pause to be able to be like, oh, okay, I can be here for an hour and a half with a bunch of people who want to be in the same space as me, and we can just create something, anything. Doesn't have to be
yeah.
good, doesn't have to be beautiful, might just be a mess of Play-Doh. And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But it's enough of a pause. And we were talking about this earlier too about, what do you do with all of the chaos that social media and just our media atmosphere has created? And I think a pause is part of the answer, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Step back from what the
Yeah,
chaos of the world and sit with people that also know how to pause and
yeah,
be in presence with them and yeah.
yeah. So come join us. Come take a
Yeah.
pause. We start on Monday. You still have time to join. And if you missed this one, that's totally okay. We've got other stuff going on. So much stuff going on, I
Lots of
realized.
stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Come for a pause. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
it's all
Well,
good stuff, though.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So check out our website. All of the things are listed there. Heather will list them all on this email in the notes or whatever. And yeah, come hang out with us because we're trying to practice some proof of concept that a better world is possible.
Exactly. And if we don't get as far as that, we'll at least have fun together creating
You
things, you
betcha.
know?
You
It's
betcha.
like, if nothing else, just come and show up with your creative projects and we'll probably have a few good laughs along the way.
Love it. Love it. Alrighty. As always, we talk too much, but if you stuck it out this far, thank you. And till the next time. We may not, yeah, I think I have one more week in town before I'm gone
And then we're both doing
and you're
various
gone.
summery
Yeah,
things, travel and stuff. So yeah, it might be a
yeah,
few weeks
yeah. So you might
gap.
have to
A
check out our back
pause.
catalog in the
Yeah, we
meantime.
got lots.
Alrighty. Till next time.
Yeah.